You ever had that moment where you look around and realize, oh great, I'm in the middle of nowhere. No Wi-Fi, no DoorDash, and worst of all, no tribe to grunt at. Welcome to the Lost Caveman Blues, my friend. Picture yourself holding a half-charred chicken leg, staring at the horizon, and wondering if anyone out there also likes their mammoth meal. The silence hits you first. It's not peaceful silence. It's the kind where even your stomach growls sounds like a drum solo in an empty cave. And that's when it sinks in. You're alone. Utterly, depressingly. Stone Age, alone, in the Stone Age. Rolling solo wasn't a cool vibe, was a death sentence. One guy against saber-toothed cats, cold nights, and the constant risk of eating the wrong berry and inventing the world's first food poisoning. The tribe wasn't just community, it was survival insurance. No tribe meant no backup, no babysitter for your fire, and nobody to laugh at your jokes about rocks looking like butts. But here's the kicker. You can't just snap your fingers and say, Alexa, find me a tribe nearby. Nope, you have to rely on caveman tactics, primitive detective work, desperate signals, and a lot of trial and error. Step one of the Lost Caveman Blues is acknowledging the situation. You're out there, stranded, just you and your questionable survival skills. You need to turn panic into comedy fuel. Otherwise, you'll end up talking to a tree and naming it Kevin. So what do? First, check your if the only footprints around you are your own, congratulations. You're the most unpopular guy in prehistory. If the only smell in the air is your own armpits, same problem. You're basically a Stone Age influencer with 0 followers. This is when the blues really kick in, because you start imagining what your tribe is doing without you. Are they sitting around the fire, passing roasted marrow bones, gossiping about how you still can't start a fire without 3 hours of frustration? Probably. And that hurts. But don't lose hope. Cavemen were nothing if not stubborn. The Lost Caveman Blues is just the first verse in your comeback song. You've got to start thinking. If there are people out there, and trust me, there are, where would they be hiding? Near water, following game trails, building TikTok dances with spears. Okay, maybe not that last one, but you get the idea. Here's the secret. No one tells you. Being lost is part of the process. Every caveman has to go through that stage of wandering, doubting, and yelling at the sky like it's customer service. The trick is to laugh at your own misery. You're alone, sure, but you're also free to reinvent yourself. Want to be the guy who invents juggling rocks? Go for it. Want to practice your caveman pickup lines on bushes? Nobody's judging except Kevin the tree, but ignore him by the time the sun sets. You'll realize the Lost Caveman Blues isn't just about fear, it's the spark that pushes you to find others. Because deep down, even a caveman knows life's just funnier, safer, and tastier with the tribe. Alone, you're a snack. Together, you're a barbecue dot. So, you've survived your first wave of the Lost Caveman Blues. You're still hungry, still alone, and Kevin the tree has stopped responding to your jokes. Time to move on to the first real caveman survival hack. Follow the smoke. Smoke in the Stone Age was basically the neon sign of existence. If you saw it drifting on the horizon, your brain instantly thought, oh good, barbecue. Because, let's be honest, why else would someone set stuff on fire unless they were cooking something delicious? Cavemen didn't have birthday candles, romantic bonfires, or weird TikTok challenges. Smoke meant food, warmth, and maybe, just maybe, people. So you start scanning the horizon like a paranoid meerkat. There it is, a thin gray column rising against the blue sky. Your heart skips. This is it. This could be your tribe, your people, your ticket out of talking to shrubbery. You march forward with determination, chest puffed out, already imagining the welcome feast, the applause, the hugs from people who smell only slightly better than you. But here's the twist. Not all smoke is created equal. Sometimes that smoke isn't a feast, it's a disaster. Maybe you're heading toward a raging wildfire, and instead of high-fiving new friends, you're sprinting for your life while your fur loincloth catches embers. Nothing screams humiliation like a caveman doing the world's first stop, drop, and droll in front of startled deer. And even if it is people, you don't know what kind of people. Best case scenario, friendly tribe. They've got mammoth ribs on the grill. They welcome you with open arms and an extra bone marrow straw. Worst case scenario, hostile strangers who see you as the uninvited guest at their prehistoric dinner party. And guess who's on the menu? Following smoke requires strategy. First rule, don't charge in like a caveman Amazon delivery guy yelling, package for you. Keep your distance at first. Watch how the smoke behaves. Is it steady and thin? Like controlled fire? That's good. Probably a campfire. Is it thick and wild? Spreading fast? That's bad forest barbecue without the meat. Second rule, always check for smells. Smoke that smells like roasted board. Jackpot. Smoke that smells like burning moss. Congrats, you're walking into the Stone Age version of an accidental arson. And if it smells like burning hair, either someone's having a very bad grooming day or things are about to get ugly. But let's not underestimate caveman optimism. As you stumble closer, every step fills your mind with hope. You imagine walking into camp, pretending you're totally cool and not desperate. Oh hey, didn't mean to intrude. I was just, following this mammoth. Yeah, smelled your ribs. Figured I'd say hi. You rehearsed your casual wave, trying to look more like a friendly wanderer and less like the sketchy stranger your mom warned you about. And then comes the awkward reveal. You finally break through the bushes, heart pounding, ready for your heroic reunion with humanity and boom! Plot twist. Sometimes it's fire without people, just a smoldering log laughing at your crushed dreams. Other times, you find the people but wish you hadn't. Imagine walking into a circle of stone-faced warriors with clubs the size of your torso. Your brain screams, retreat, but your legs are busy betraying you by wobbling in terror. The smoke lesson is simple. Hope is a dangerous fuel, but it keeps you moving. Every puff of gray on the horizon could mean salvation or singed eyebrows. Either way, it's better than sitting in the dirt crying into your half-burnt chicken leg. Cavemen knew that to find your tribe, you had to chase the signs, even if they occasionally roasted you alive. And if all else fails, at least smoke gives you a direction. Without it, you're just spinning in circles, scaring squirrels with your lonely sobbing. With it, you've got purpose, a goal, a reason to keep stumbling forward with blistered feet and questionable optimism. So go ahead, follow that smoke. Just, maybe bring some water and a backup plan in case the only thing waiting for you is a very angry forest. All right, so you followed smoke once or twice. Maybe you found food. Maybe you almost became food. Either way, you're still wandering, still tribeless, and starting to look like a walking tumbleweed with a club. Time to try another Stone Age trick, yelling into the void. Welcome to the fine art of echoes and shouts. Back in the caveman days, you couldn't exactly text your buddy, "Yo, where are you at? Bring fire?" The only long-distance communication was your lungs. So what did they do? They shouted loud. Cavemen had two favorite hobbies: hitting rocks and yelling into valleys. It wasn't just for fun, it was a survival tactic. If there was a tribe nearby, someone might shout back, "Congratulations, you've just invented the Stone Age version of a group chat." But here's the problem. Nature also has an annoying sense of humor. You let out your big OHHH, expecting another caveman to reply, but instead you just get yourself, your own voice bouncing back, mocking you. And for a split second, you think, wow, there's someone else out there. Nope, just you. Congrats, you've been catfished by geology, and sometimes the reply isn't even an echo, it's wildlife. Imagine shouting, and instead of hey, coming back, you hear a low growl. Suddenly, you're in a duet with a mountain lion. Not exactly the tribe reunion you hoped for. Still, echoes and shouts had their perks. If you actually did get a human response, it was the caveman equivalent of sliding into someone's DMs and getting a reply instead of silence. You'd yell, they'd yell back, and then you'd try to locate each other. Of course, it wasn't perfect. Picture two groups running toward each other based on sound, only to realize you've been running in opposite directions the whole time. Hours wasted, cardio achieved, tribe still missing. Now let's talk strategy. Cavemen didn't just shout random stuff like, hello. They used call-specific sounds their tribe recognized. Maybe a long howl, maybe a goofy grunt. It was basically the first ring, and it worked because no two tribes sounded alike. One might favor a deep, chesty roar. Another might sound like a goose with asthma. If you shouted the right call and got the right call back, jackpot 2 were home. But if you shouted the wrong call in the wrong place, bad news. You might stumble into the enemy tribe. And trust me, nothing ruins your day faster than confidently yelling your tribe's war cry, only to have 15 angry strangers appear, all holding clubs, all ready to redecorate your face. And yet, the beauty of shouting into the wilderness is that it reminds you you're not just waiting, you're acting. You're reaching out, even if the reply is disappointing or terrifying. Plus, it kills the loneliness. Better to scream like a maniac and hear your own echo than sit in silence until your brain invents imaginary friends with better social skills than you. The key is persistence. One shout won't do it. You've got to keep trying. Every hilltop, every canyon, somewhere out there, somebody's listening. Maybe they're laughing at your terrible technique, but hey, that's still connection. Eventually, the right ears will hear, and suddenly you're not just shouting at rocks, you're sending the Stone Age version of "Where are you?" into the world and getting a real answer back. So yes, echoes are unreliable, embarrassing, and occasionally dangerous, but they're also the soundtrack of hope. Because every time you hear something bounce back, you're reminded you're not entirely swallowed by the void. And that's enough to keep you walking, shouting, and grinning like an idiot at the thought that maybe, just maybe, your tribe is one valley away. So, the smoke signals failed you. The echoes made you feel like a lonely idiot yelling at mountains. What's next on the Caveman Find My Tribe app? Simple. Follow the clues they leave behind. Welcome to the fine detective work of tracks and leftovers. Cavemen were basically the original stalkers, minus binoculars. They read the land like a crime scene. Footprints in the mud. That's a trail. Broken twigs. Someone's been here. A pile of cracked nutshells. Jackpot. You're basically Sherlock Holmes with fleas. Every scrap of evidence out there whispers. Somebody walked by here. Probably less smelly than you. Maybe carrying meat. Start with footprints. Human feet aren't exactly subtle. You see toes pressed into the dirt, and suddenly your heart leaps. But hold on, you have to analyze. Are they fresh? If water's pooled in them, they're old. If the edges are sharp, someone passed recently. If they're really small, congrats, you're stalking children. Awkward. If they're huge and clawed, that's not a tribe. My friend, that's a bear. Wrong follow. Then there are bones. Cavemen didn't exactly have a recycling program. When they ate, they tossed bones around like frat boys with chicken wings. To another caveman, this was a treasure map. You see a gnawed mammoth femur. That's evidence of a party you weren't invited to? But hey, you can follow the trail of discarded dinner until you reach the after party. Shells and nutshells were another clue. Tribes cracked nuts, dropped the shells, and moved on. It's basically the Stone Age breadcrumb trail. But here's the kicker. Sometimes animals did the same. You might think you're chasing a tribe, when in fact you're following a squirrel with an unusually active social life. Nothing crushes your spirit like realizing you've stalked a rodent for 3 miles. Fire pits were the ultimate jackpot. Stones arranged in a circle, blackened wood in the middle, that's clear proof of humans. And the smell of old ash. Oh, that sweet scent of civilization. It means someone sat here, laughed here, maybe even roasted a leg of something here. You crouch beside it, hand over your chest like an archaeologist discovering treasure. Except, in this case, the treasure is a reminder that other people exist and you're still stuck outside the club. But tread carefully. Not all signs lead to hugs and shared roasted marrow. Some lead to hostile tribes. You'll find footprints with spear tips dragging beside them. That's not picnic vibes. That's war party vibes. Bones smashed for marrow. That's not dinner. That's evidence of a tribe that doesn't waste a single calorie, and they might look at you with the same efficient hunger. And then there's the paranoia. You start questioning every clue. Are these human footprints or just weird rocks? Are these nutshells from a tribe or leftovers from monkeys? Did this fire pit belong to your future family or your future killers? The line between yay, people, and oh no, cannibals is razor thin. Still, following tracks and leftovers is about persistence. Every step brings you closer, even when you're wrong. Even when you spend half a day chasing goat prints, at least you're moving. And in the Stone Age, moving was everything. Stagnation meant death. Tracks meant hope. And you know what? There's a weird kind of joy in it. You crouch in the dirt, squinting at footprints like some kind of prehistoric detective. And for a moment, you feel clever, like you're in on the secret of the land. The world is telling you a story, and if you listen closely enough, you can follow it right into the heart of a tribe. So you push forward. Through mud, through leaves, through disappointment after disappointment. Because somewhere at the end of all these cracked bones and broken shells, there's firelight, laughter, and the sound of voices that don't belong to an echo or a squirrel. And that's worth chasing even if you trip over your own big caveman feet along the way. All right, Sherlock Caveman, you've followed smoke. You've yelled at mountains. You've sniffed ashes like a prehistoric detective with a nose problem. But here's where things get interesting. Fashion statements. Yes. Even in the Stone Age. What you wore or smelled like told the world exactly which tribe you belonged to. See. Tribes had their own style. Not Gucci, not Adidas, but equally loud. One clan might wear bear pelts that make them look like angry rugs. Another might drape themselves in fish skins, leaving a scent trail strong enough to knock out a saber-tooth. Fashion wasn't just about looking good. It was survival branding. If you saw a guy with eagle feathers on his head, you knew he belonged to the tribe that thought screaming like birds made them cool. If you saw someone covered in red clay, that was their signature. No mistaking it. Think of it this way. In a world without business cards or Instagram bios, your loincloth was your profile picture. Cavemen judged each other at first glance. Oh, those guys with the wolf skulls. Yeah, they're intense. Don't make eye contact. And those dudes covered in seashells. They're friendly, but don't sit downwind. Fashion was identity. But here's the hilarious part. When you're wandering alone, lost and desperate, fashion becomes your guide. You stumble across a tuft of rabbit fur tied with sinewy. Instantly know, someone passed here. And not just anyone. Someone with a sense of style. Someone who, just maybe, could be your new best friend. Of course, there's risk. Not all tribal looks scream welcome. Some scream run. Imagine spotting a bone necklace with what suspiciously looks like human teeth. That's not the group you want to stroll into, wearing your discount beaver hide wrap. That's the group that'll look at you and say, nice fingers, we'll take them. Still, fashion cues are crucial. You might smell dried fish and know a coastal tribe's nearby. You might find scraps of painted cloth and realize a more artistic, cave wall graffiti tribe is just ahead. You might even recognize your own tribe style and feel that surge of relief, like finding your lost wallet. Text this wallet can also stop you from getting eaten alive. Let's not forget the smell factor. Caveman tribes didn't just wear their style, they carried it on the wind. One tribe smelled like smoked boar. Another reeked of wet dog because, well, they lived with wolves. If you picked up that scent, you knew what you were in for. It was the Stone Age equivalent of a brand slogan. Instead of just do it, it was just smell it. Now picture yourself stumbling into a clearing. You spot figures in the distance. Are they wearing fur capes? Do they have painted faces? Is that a necklace made of shiny shells? Suddenly, your detective brain lights up. You're not just guessing anymore. You're profiling. You're saying, okay, this tribe probably tells bad hunting jokes but shares food. That other tribe probably eats strangers first, asks questions later. But the real comedy kicks in when you try to fit in. Alone, filthy, wrapped in a random deer hide. You look like the Stone Age version of a guy showing up to a black tie event and you tried to mimic their look by smearing mud on your face or sticking feathers in your hair. But instead of blending in, you just look like a crazy guy who wrestled a turkey. And yet sometimes it works. Sometimes tribes respect the effort, laugh at your attempt and say, okay, he's dumb, but he's ours now. Fashion isn't just fabric and fits the universal language of belonging. In the Stone Age, style saved your life. Get it wrong, and you were a cautionary tale told around a fire. Get it right, and you earned your place in the circle, right next to the guy who smelled faintly of salmon but roasted the best boar ribs in the valley. So, as you wander, remember this. Every scrap of fur, every stink of fish, every badly tied feather is a clue. The runway of survival stretches across dirt paths and riverbanks, and if you learn to read it, one day you'll strut down it straight into the arms of your tribe. Crocs and all. So there you are after days of following smoke, shouting at rocks, sniffing old bones, and judging cavemen fashion. You finally see them. Actual humans. A tribe. Real, breathing, possibly sweaty people, sitting around a fire. And now comes the most terrifying part. The awkward first contact. Think about it. You've been alone so long, you've had full conversations with Kevin the tree. Now suddenly there's a dozen strangers staring at you, like you just wandered onto their Netflix show, uninvited. What do? Wave smile. Flex your biceps. Or do you just grunt and hope they don't hit you with a rock? First impressions in the Stone Age were brutal. One wrong move, and boom, your dinner. You approach too fast. They panic. You grab food without asking. You're a thief. You sneeze near the fire. Congratulations. You just invented social distancing 50,000 years. Too early. The smart play was simple. Look harmless. Cavemen didn't have HR departments or icebreaker games. The icebreaker was you not looking like a threat. You raise your hands, show you've got no rocks ready to smash skulls. Maybe drop a little gift like a bone with marrow still in it, or a shiny rock you found. Think of it as the Stone Age version of bringing wine to a dinner party. And then there's the universal, caveman language, body gestures. Point at yourself, then at them. Then make some awkward noises that sound vaguely like friend. If they don't immediately throw spears, you're doing great. If they laugh at you, even better. Humor was the earliest bridge between strangers. Everyone loves watching a desperate caveman accidentally step on a thorn. But here's the comedy of it. Your brain, desperate for connection, starts overthinking everything. You wonder, do I smell too much like dead squirrel? Should I have washed in that muddy stream? Is my fur wrap giving off loser vibes? Meanwhile, the tribe is probably thinking the same thing about you. It's the world's first episode of Caveman's Got Social Anxiety. And oh boy, the food test. If they offer you food, you've got one chance. Take it politely, smile, chew, even if it tastes like burnt porcupine. But don't spit it out. Don't gag. Because in that moment, you're not just eating food, you're eating your way into the tribe. And heaven forbid you grab a piece too early, before the chief does. That's not bonding, that's instant execution. Sometimes, though, things go hilariously wrong. You might wave, but in their culture, that means challenge to fight. You might give them a gift, but you accidentally handed over the sacred rock they lost last winter. Or you try to laugh, but it sounds like a dying goat, and suddenly everyone's clutching spears. But if you're lucky, you pass the test. They nod, grunt back, maybe even make space by the fire. Someone hands you a chunk of roasted meat, and you realize you did it. You survived the most awkward social interaction in human history. Of course, don't relax too much. Just because they let you sit doesn't mean you're family yet. You're still on probation. Every move you make is being judged. Do you chew too loud? Do you hog the fire? Do you snore like a dying mammoth? Every little thing counts. But at least now, instead of Kevin the Tree, you've got people, and even if they think you're weird, at least you're their weird. So remember this, finding a tribe isn't the hardest part. Convincing them not to kill you in the first 5 minutes. That's the real Stone Age challenge. You've made it past the fire test. They didn't bash your head in when you waved awkwardly. They didn't chase you away when you drooled over their mammoth ribs. You're in. Well, kinda. Now comes the final stage. Going from stranger to brother C. Joining a tribe isn't just about not dying in the first 5 minutes. It's about proving you belong. You can't just plop yourself down like, "Sup guys, I live here now." No, you've got to earn your spot. One smoky, sweaty, weird ritual at a time. First, they're sharing the fire. Fire was the heart of the tribe. Sit too close. You're hogging it. Sit too far. You look antisocial. The trick is the perfect middle distance, where you're warm but not singeing your hair. And when they pass you a stick to add to the flames, don't screw it up. Drop it wrong. Smother the fire. And you've just committed the Stone Age equivalent of crashing the Wi-Fi. Nobody forgives that then. There are the stories. Caveman loved swapping tales around the fire. Some bragged about hunting. Others told spooky cave ghost stories. Your job, nod, grunt, laugh when everyone else laughs, even if you don't get the joke. And when it's your turn, make something up. They don't know you actually fell in a hole chasing a rabbit. Spin it into "I fought a fierce beast, the Rabbit King, and lived to tell the tale." Sell it with hand gestures. They'll love you for it. Food is another gateway. Offer what little you have, even if it's just a sad route you dug up. Sharing shows your tribe material. And when they share back, savor it like it's 5-star cuisine event. If it's a half-burnt hedgehog, the point isn't flavor, it's fellowship. But bonding isn't only eating and talking, it's working. Help skin the game. Help fetch water. Help scrape hides. Show you're useful. Nobody wants dead weight in the Stone Age. If you can't fight a wolf, at least carry firewood without tripping. Earn your keep. And suddenly, you're not just that weird loner who showed up. You're our weird loner who at least carries heavy stuff. And then, of course, there's laughter. Humor was the secret handshake of humanity. Maybe you trip and fall face first in mud. Embarrassing. Sure. But if they laugh, laugh with them. Make fun of yourself. In that moment, you've crossed a line. You're not just tolerated. You're entertaining. Every tribe needed a clown as much as it needed a hunter. Over time, something magical happens. The suspicious stares fade. The awkward silence breaks. One kid throws you a bone, literally, and suddenly you're sharing roasted marrow like old pals. One guy grunts approval when you sharpen a stick. One woman laughs at your terrible rabbit story. Piece by piece, you become part of the rhythm. And here's the truth. Tribes weren't just about survival. They were about belonging. Alone, you're a guy yelling at trees. With them, you're part of a chorus of voices, a circle of warmth, a shared heartbeat under the stars. You go from stranger to brother, Sure, you'll never stop being the guy who showed up smelling like swamp and confusion. But tribes don't remember the beginning, they remember the bond. And someday, when another lost caveman stumbles into camp, you'll be the one handing him meat, giving him the awkward wave, laughing when he makes a fool of himself. Because that's what tribes do. They turn outsiders into family. And that, my lonely friend, is how you find your tribe in the middle of nowhere. Not by magic, not by luck, but by smoke, shouts, leftovers, style awkwardness, and a whole lot of laughter. Alone, you're just a snack. Together, you're the whole feast.